how to replace your Cricut Maker belt. Now, if you're looking for a Cricut Maker belt, I do have a supply of aftermarket ones. I'll tell you how you can get one for a discounted price. First thing you gotta do is watch the whole video. If you haven't seen my other videos, make sure you watch some of those. If you don't know how to get inside, I got this pre-done so I can kind of move along quick here. I already have videos on how to do that. Now this thing that's missing here, I already got off. It's 3 screws on each side here of this sticky, super sticky irritant. So be careful with that. It's got 2 tabs on the bottom there. One's right there and the other one's on the other side. It comes up and then you gotta just sort of weasel it. It's really sticky. Then you're gonna wanna get the 2 screws right there. I already took them out. And there are 2 screws on the other side. I already took those out. Remove this screw, this screw. There's, I think, one there, one with a little white spacer thing down there, and another one with a little white spacer thing right there. Sorry, I know it's kind of hard to see, but you can watch my other videos for that if you really have troubles. But really, essentially, all you need to do is you need to be able to get this plastic piece loose. You gotta make sure this is down. Get this plastic piece loose like that. And then the cross member and the bars come off. Get the spring off here if you haven't already. You're gonna wanna loosen this tensioner for the belt. If you have troubles doing that, use either a power drill or you can use something to bust that nut free. That should help. You also need to get off this one right here that holds the rod in place. It helps to have a magnet handy. So yeah, you got that loose. It looks like this. It's got a little thing. There's 2 of them, one on each side. There's one underneath there, and then there's one underneath the gear like I showed you. So the best way that I found to do that is you're going to need to get, there's a screw holding this motor mount on here, and then there's one on the other side. Now once you get those off, then it's still going to be in place pretty hard. You're going to need to push it that way towards the back of the machine. There's a little bit of play there. You're going to push it back that way. This motor mount is also holding the rod on, so you're going to need to just finagle it a little bit. Now you should already have that disconnected so you can get the motor loose. Once the motor's loose, then you got a little bit of play. You don't have a ton. If you need to take the tape off to get rid of that, you can. You don't have a ton, but you got a little bit. This is where your magnet's going to come in handy because you're going to have to get that clip off like I showed you before. It's right there. So you're going to have to use whatever you want. I use a little flathead. Kind of works pretty well. And then you can pop it right off there. Then you can pop this pin out that holds the gear in place, and then you got just enough room to, now you probably have a broken belt or maybe it's worn, but if it's broken, this is going to be a lot easier. If it's worn, this might be tricky. So then, yeah, you get enough room so that you can pull those pieces out. This comes off like that. It's a little plastic piece. So usually if you can get that part off first, it helps. And then you got this part free. Then the rest of it's pretty straightforward. But yeah, you're gonna pop that other clip off. Don't lose it. Yeah, pop that off. And then you got your belt free. And you should have your rod free. You're gonna push the rod out that way. Your motor should be, make sure nothing is in the way of that so it doesn't pop anything off or ruin anything. Be careful with your ribbon cable. These like to get chewed up quite a bit. You want to make sure you disconnect that. Unscrew these two, and then your belt will be off. Now there is a way to get it off that's easier. When it's on the rod, you can angle it up just a little bit, enough to stick a screwdriver in there to loosen them, and you can get it off that way. You can weasel it around that way. But either way, if you're taking it off, you're probably going to need to put it on, and you're probably going to have to get it to this point so you can take it off. If you got the belt from me, you see these white marks. You want to make sure that you have it lined up so that you can just barely see the white on each side. Okay, so make sure you do that. That's crucial. Just get it, kind of loose in there. And then once you got it kind of in there, then make sure it's lined up. Like I said, the white on each side. Pull it through that side and pull it through the other side. Okay, now you want to make sure that it's not angled like that, not angled like that. You want to make sure it's straight. It should kind of naturally want to be straight, so shouldn't have to do too much. But make sure you get this tight. You want to tighten it real nice and snug. You don't want to strip the screw, but you want to get it nice and tight. To get it on is basically the reverse of removal. You're going to put your rod through. You're going to put your belt through here like so. And then at this point you could take and put the belt through because you got a lot of play. Just make sure it's the right orientation, which it's not right now. There we go. So you get it through, put your gear on, put it through there, put your pin through, and then your little cotter pin on. I usually use the pliers. You can use whatever works for you. So now you got that in place. So then you're going to get the motor where it needs to go with the rod. And then you're going to go to your other side, stick the belt through. It barely goes through. Now the way they made these belts are they don't give you a lot of play. So I made it so if it was an 1/8 inch short, it would be almost impossible to get on. An 1/8 inch long, you would run into the problem of not being able to get enough tension because they made these screws just enough. You could get another one that's longer and it would work, but yeah, it should. You just want to get the rod mount just somewhat in there in place, and then get your tension mechanism in place. Take your gear, and this gear is the same as the other one. It has a part that comes off, and then what I like to do is hold it like so. Grab your pin and then stick it through here like that, and then you got just enough to put that pin through the gear. Now you want to make sure it goes through both sides. Okay, so now you got to get that circlip on, which is going to be one of the most difficult things of the job, I would say. Okay, what I did to get it on there is I took it up like this, and then I slid it in there with my finger so that it was resting in the groove. And then I used the pliers, you could use whatever you want, and then just pushed it into the groove. Like I said, it's tricky, but I have faith in you. You can do it. All right, so now you got that. Now you want to make sure you put your screws in here top and bottom. You know, put your screws all in this side, the motor mounts. You tighten it. Try to keep the nut where it was when you took it off. That way you know how tight it's supposed to be, and you should hear a good, you know, string to it. You don't want it to be too tight, but you don't want it to be too loose. So yeah, you can move it back and forth. If you can't move it back and forth, it's too tight. If you hear it slamming into the side and it keeps slamming, then you know it's too loose. Get this part back on, and then, you know, all the stuff you took off, the spring, make sure you get your electrical connector, that one, or your motor connector. This one goes on this rail. You start on that side, and then put it through there, and then it's not going to sit unless you jiggle that around so that it sits nicely in there. So there you have it. I'm not going to show you how to put the rest together. If you have questions, you can comment or watch my other videos. My other videos go over most of the stuff, so it was mainly for this belt so that you guys know, you know, how to do it. So let me know what you think. If you have any questions or you need anything else, I'm going to be working on another one soon for the Cricut Explorer Air 2 belt, which is a lot easier, as well as some other things later on. So thanks for watching. See you next time.